rise of Southampton is one that is truly remarkable. The story that they went through, continuously competing for top 6 at one point, playing against the big boys and often beating them, apart from their players constantly getting sold and having to rebuild and rebuild, getting in new prospects and new academy players. But it all started in the 1920s when they went into the Football League, many seasons in the second division but eventually being promoted, and this is where in 2008 they started their Premier League triumphs. Many managers coming and going, but the one man that really shines bright is Mauricio Pochettino. That man created a squad that was unbelievable. Chuck some names out there for you: Adam Lallana, James Ward-Prowse, Toby Alderweireld, Rickie, Lambert, Virgil Van Dijk. So many great players who have actually played for the club. Matt Le Tissier back in the day as well. Southampton are no novice. They are no shit team. They have history and they've been in the leagues a long time, and they were flying at one point. But it all came crumbling down after Ralph Hasenhüttl left. Realistically, he didn't leave them in a good place. And after that, their relegation was pretty much confirmed. The manager from Luton came in trying to save their season, and it just did not work.
I feel physically sick, literally sick. I could be sick.
What once was considered a rebuild by Hasenhüttl ended up in destruction. All their players were sold, and the players they then brought in were simply not good enough. Danny Ings, Sadio Mane, Rickie, Lambert, every single season, Virgil Van Dijk. You had a player from Southampton, a big boy, going for a lot of money, but ultimately constantly going for a bigger challenge. Southampton were almost a selling club, and eventually it came to bite them in the arse. It sure is probably sunny in Southampton at the moment, but you do have to feel for them, especially what they're currently going through. Looking back at their history though, I've already mentioned it, but some big names: Matt Le Tissier, Virgil van Dijk, Gareth Bale, Sadio Mane scoring the fastest ever hat-trick there at Southampton and against Aston Villa. They have had, even Shane Long for them was good. Rickie, Lambert, Danny Ings. They've had players who have had absolutely extraordinary seasons. So many good players throughout their history, and now they find themselves relegated again. A manager who came in, Mauricio Pochettino, and changed everything, building a team, a strong team, and constantly fighting for that top 6, top 7, getting better and better and better. And Southampton in that period, I remember watching our match today. They were exciting, they played great football, and they had some great players, and they was punching above their weight every time. They was always getting someone nicked off them every season. They'd have 2 or 3 players going, and there was a selling club. Obviously they had to raise money, but there was going to become a period where their recruitment or the players who came up from the academy were not going to be good enough. They had James Ward-Prowse last come up, and he played well, but then Southampton fell into this period, especially after Koeman left, where they just wasn't quite good enough to stay above where they were previously. And under Hasenhüttl, they started very well, and it looked like the German was going to do well, or the Austrian. My bad. But then after that, he almost got relegated, and pretty much once he got sacked, they did get relegated. They're a team who, I think, you know what, they belong in the Prem. They are a great team, and they play some good football at times, but the football that they've played this season, the mistakes they've made, the shit they've done, has not been very good. They will look upon their success in fond memories, and although they might have not won a trophy in a while, they was once a very entertaining team. But for now, and at the moment, the way they play and the way that their team is managed has been terrible.
Southampton have been relegated from the Premier League.
We have our 12 points!
Now, Southampton's present is very bleak, depressing and sad, to be honest. They worked their way back up into the Prem, first time of asking, and now they go and sit currently at 11 points. Yes, 11. You're reading that correctly and listening to that correctly. It could be bad. They could potentially not win another game, and at the moment they are joint worst team with Derby. The players that they've got this season just have not done it. The managers have tried to play away of Pep Ball, and it just has not worked, and that stubbornness has cost them. It's a real shame that they fall so quickly, but wow, have they been shit. Not one of those players, apart from maybe Aaron Ramsdale, has realistically played well, but his defence in front of him has constantly been non-existent, making mistake after mistake. An easy 3 points for any team realistically. Can they go on and potentially get 1 point more or get another win to just make sure that they're not classed as the worst ever? Who knows, because every time they seem to get a lead at the moment, they end up bottling it and losing in the 90th minute. For Southampton, it looks like there is very, very dark and worrying times ahead. Well, Southampton, look where you are now. Back down in the Championship, one of the top 10 leagues in the world, but ultimately you have failed this season and failed very bad. At the time of recording this, you could still be the worst team ever to get relegated. They sit on 10 points. I don't know where they're going to get those extra 2 points from, unless they beat Leicester, potentially, which hasn't happened yet, so who's to know. But from where they once were under Pochettino and battling that Europa League spot, realistically, with Sadio Mane, there's so many great players there. They had them two like really good teams with Rickie, Lambert, Sadio Mane. They had that fake Pele. Who was that? Good? Was it? No. Number 22. He's not quite coming to my name, but he had quite long hair. Begins with a G. G. He's not quite ringing the bell, but they had some absolute amazing players, and now they find themselves just in the shitter. Where did it all go wrong? Because all of their players did get nicked, and ultimately, similar to like Brighton, they could have spent the money well. And look, they now find themselves rock bottom of the Premier League, entering the Championship next season. Of course, they can come back. They built up a decent little run, you know. The South Coast teams, they tend to do all right. Even Bournemouth are doing well. The fan bases are a different thing, but Bournemouth, Brighton, they're all playing well. Southampton can definitely be up there, and they've been up there before. Adam Lallana, Shane Long, there's fucking loads of people there who I could mention. Like, they had great teams. They've had Van Dijk, for God's sake. There's Nathaniel Klein. Like, even the players that I'm mentioning, some of them went on to have good careers. Some of them didn't, but they was very, very good at Southampton. And there's this number 10, and he really do my head in. He was number 10. It begins with a G or something. Oh, I can't quite remember his name, but he was a great player, great little sign of Southampton. And yes, I do think that as a club, you know, St Mary's is a decent stadium, and it once was a breeding ground for great players, but they find themselves now in a place of adversity, and the fans seem to have had enough. The stadium's half empty by the time that half time is blown, because they're normally about 3-0 down. They've had multiple 9-0 beatings, and I do feel sorry for them in that way. They don't deserve to lose 9-0 twice, and it's happened to them twice. Whether it happens again this season, who knows, but their managers and the way he played, if you look at this season, especially the first coach, I can't remember his name, but the persistence to play at the back and play this style of football of the pet ball, realistically, when you don't have the players. We saw it with Company for Burnley. He tried, and he got relegated. From the looks of it, Ramsdale has had no defence, pretty much. He's been relegated 3 times, and you can put blame everywhere. Ultimately, the players' heads have dropped, but I think there's got to be a point where, especially if you're in that battle, a 4-4-2, kicking long ball sometimes works. And you look at some teams like Everton, how David Moyes has come and dragged them out. Wolves have started to play well, albeit they don't necessarily play that really defensive football. They've got great ballers on there. Southampton from the back, I wonder how many mistakes they made leading to goals, because that defence gave balls away time and time again, and they have, in some aspects, no one but themselves to blame. Defensively, they were shocking, especially when I've watched them. And I ain't watched them much this season, but yes, they need to reevaluate themselves. Could they come back up? Of course, but at the moment, even with the teams coming up from the Championship, it looks like it's going to take someone like maybe a Leeds to stay in the Prem. It looks like at the moment, all the 3 that get promoted are going to go back down, and that's just because, yes, one of the quality of the Premier League, but maybe the ball that they've played in the Championship, where they're able to play at the back, and they've been one of the best teams in the Championship. I'm looking at, like, let's say Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, Southampton when they was in there, and Leicester. You have to adapt to the Prem, and it's a results business. You have to change your style to certain teams. You know, you can't play out from the back against Man City if you don't have the capabilities. Teams like Liverpool, I think, that's why, if you look at them, they're so different in the way of, like, most teams try and play like Man City and play at the back, but Liverpool are not afraid to kick it long and go in behind. And that's what Man City did when they won the treble with Haaland. They kicked it long and went in behind with them sometimes, because it catches teams out. And I think Southampton just didn't adapt well enough, and they kept trying and banging their head against the wall. And by the time that he got sacked, they was pretty much already down and out. So now we wait to see what they can do in the Championship. I'm sure there'll be a couple of them lads being shipped off to other clubs, trying to stay in the Prem, etc. So they've got another rebuild in the process. At the moment, Southampton are probably at rock bottom. They have fell and fell and fell, and if they do become the worst team in the Premier League, that is an awful record to have. 2 wins, and that's it. And how many draws? Like 3. The rest is losses. Their goal difference is terrible. But of course, as I said, they can always come back. We get to come back, and they get to bounce back.
Just remember the players, Gabbiadini and Gaston Ramirez. At their time, there's some Southampton court heroes. Unbelievable players.
Now, what does the future hold for Southampton? There's been rebuilds before, and with owners, with different changes of leadership, they have had good success. And yes, when they was in the Europa League, they didn't necessarily compete that well, but that is because big clubs like Manchester United, like Liverpool, were constantly hounding them. And people say it doesn't happen in the Premier League. It happens every bloody season, and Southampton were very much one of the prime victims of that. They have a lot of similarities with Brighton in terms of how they promote academy players, sell on big players, and then keep rebuilding. But at the moment, their time of bringing in the youth is not going very well. You could say Dobbing is one that they've potentially raised. He will go soon, and they need a manager who can come in and rapidly make things work. The Championship shouldn't be too hard for them. They've done it before and they can do it again. But when they next come up to the Premier League, those PSR restrictions are not really going to help. I can't see them necessarily going for that top 6 anytime soon. At the moment, it's very hard for newly promoted teams to come into the Prem and compete, especially with these new restrictions on PSR, etc. So Southampton have got it all to do. But with a new manager and with a little bit of success, who knows what can happen. Many teams have done bigger things and many teams have done it before. They can come back. So the Championship it is again for them next season. Lots of goals, lots of great 90th minute winners there will be. Some say the Championship is more exciting because you do get those 95th minute winners, those 5-5 draws, those 6-5s, the crazy shit that happens. And it is some part exciting. But can you beat the Premier League and playing at those great stadiums? Probably not. And the money that you get, etc. is ridiculous. Will Southampton go straight back up? I think they've got a very, very good chance as long as their manager that they pick, whether the current one stays, I'm not too clued up on who they could be getting, but they've got to do better and they've got to recruit well. If they do sell that Dobbin and get a load of money for him, invest it wisely like they did before. You have to be very, very careful with your investment, especially if you're not a classic top 6 club, because the broadcasters, everyone else, are biased towards Spurs, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and who else am I missing? Man City. I remember watching a little clip actually. The reason that they have the half-ball kickoffs, the 12:30s and stuff, majority of the time the bigger teams playing those because they want more people to support them because ultimately they bring in the most money, etc., etc. And then the world will watch it more rather than a Aston Villa versus Southampton or Southampton versus Leicester, whoever it might be. But bringing it back round in a way where we can really look at Southampton now. I can see them getting promoted next season. I think Leicester and Southampton, to be honest, now that Leeds have gone up, they will be the two that are probably competing for the top 2 again. Ipswich, I'm not too sure, but they've just got to take the L. Maybe they can get another point. At the moment, they are on 11 now. At least they've got one better because as I'm filming the other part, there was on bloody 10 or something. They've got an extra point. They need one more. Can they do it? Maybe against Leicester. You'll have to see. And they're in the Championship. They can just rebuild a little bit. Go again. And I think Southampton's days, with the right recruitment, can be back. It's similar with a lot of clubs. But if I look at the South Coast realistically, I think Brighton play very good football. Bournemouth play very good football, but their fans are fucking shit. And if they're going for 8, who would I want out the league? Burnley are coming up. I'd rather have Southampton than bloody Burnley. And I'd rather have whoever else than Sheffield United. There's some teams that have real history here, and I'm not saying that Burnley don't, but in terms of Southampton, I think at one point and in one stage, people really did admire them as like a team where, you know, they're underdogs, and everybody loves an underdog story. And I think Southampton, it might be a few years' time, but they will come back.
Well. Even when you're editing, the game can change. And Man City have just given Southampton 12 points. They've done it. They're not the worst team ever. Well done against the most unlikely team you'd expect for them. I don't know either why I'm calling dobbing. Maybe I've been watching too much Dobbo, because one does TikTok dances, the other plays professional football. They're not that similar. But anyways, Southampton, are they back on the rise?